A butter dish sits on your kitchen table right now, and it costs more than it did 2 years ago. You noticed. You always notice. What nobody told you is that the price dairies get paid for butter fell by nearly a third this year. The wholesale side collapsed. The shelf tag never moved. We priced 13 butters sold in America, from the cheapest tub at Walmart to hand-churned French butter that lands near $47 a pound delivered. Every price here is as of filming and moves by region. The one that won cost $3.06 a pound. The one that lost cost more than 15 times that. Before we start, put your butter brand in the comments, right now, off the top of your head. Here is the rule for this whole video. The front of the box is marketing. The back of the box is the law. Start with the number that governs every single item on this list, because once you know it, half the packaging, in the dairy case, stops working on you. In the United States, butter is not a marketing word. It is a legal definition. Federal law sets what is called a standard of identity. And for butter, that standard says the product must contain at least 80% milk fat. It must be made from cream. Salt is optional. Coloring is optional. That is the entire recipe the law allows. 80%. Write that number down. Here is what it means in practice, and this is the part the dairy case does not advertise. The $3 pound at Walmart has to clear 80% milk fat. The $5 pound with the Indian maiden on the box has to clear 80% milk fat. The $10 pound wrapped in gold foil from Ireland has to clear 80% milk fat. They are all standing on the same floor, not a similar floor, the same one written into the same federal rule. Anything a company does above that floor is a choice it made and then decided to charge you for. More butterfat, say 82 or 85%, is a real choice. Culturing the cream with live bacteria before churning, the way European dairies traditionally did, is a real choice. Flying it across an ocean on a refrigerated pallet is a real choice. Those things cost money, and sometimes you can taste them. We will get to exactly where you can and where you cannot. But here is the other direction, and this is the one that actually costs people in your age bracket real money every week. Anything that falls below 80% milk fat is legally not allowed to be called butter. So it gets called something else: margarine, spread, blend. Butter with oil, buttery sticks. Those words are not softer versions of the same product. They are the legal admission that the product did not qualify. That single number is your measuring stick for everything that follows: 80% cream, salt. Now let us walk up the price ladder from the bottom, because the bottom is where the surprise lives. The cheapest real butter in America, as far as we could find, sits in a Walmart cooler in a plain white and blue box. Great value sweet cream, salted butter, 4 sticks, 1 pound, $3.06. That works out to about 19 cents an ounce. Turn it over. Cream. Salt. That is the ingredient list. It clears the federal floor because the law does not let it exist otherwise. One rung up Costco. Kirkland Signature butter sells in a 4-pound pack for $12.47. $3.12 a pound, 6 cents more than Walmart, and you are buying it in a quantity that lives in your freezer for 3 months. Aldi next. Countryside Creamery, $3.29 on sale, $3.55 at regular price. Then Target's house label, Good & Gather, at $3.99 a pound. Now the names you grew up with: Land O'Lakes, 1 pound, 4 sticks, $4.46 at Walmart, $5.69 at Target. Same butter, same box, and $1.23 of daylight between 2 stores in the same shopping center. Challenge. The California brand, $4.99 a pound at Target. One detail on those boxes is worth knowing because it is the only quality score in the case that comes from outside the company. The Department of Agriculture runs a voluntary grading program for butter, where a trained grader scores flavor, body, texture, color, and how evenly the salt is distributed, and the top result is grade AA. It is voluntary, the dairy pays for it, and plenty of good butter skips it. But look closely at the plain boxes. A great many store brands carry the same AA shield as the national names sitting above them at twice the price. Nobody put that shield in a television commercial because it does not help anyone charge more. Look at what just happened across those 6 rungs. The spread from the cheapest pound in the country to a national brand is under $2, and every one of them clears the same 80%. Now here is the piece of arithmetic that should make you sit up. Butter on the commodity market peaked near $3.50 a pound in 2025. By the middle of 2026, it had fallen to roughly $1.65, which reporting on the dairy trade puts it about 31% below its 5-year average. That is the raw material, the bulk butter, before a box, before a truck, before a logo, $1.65 in, $4.99 out. Nobody is breaking a law there, but when the input price falls by nearly half and your grocery bill does not move, that difference did not evaporate. It went somewhere, and it did not go to you. One more thing about the bottom of this ladder, because it explains why the cheap box is not the compromise you assume it is. Land O'Lakes is a farmer-owned cooperative. Challenge came up through California dairy cooperative infrastructure. Store brands are churned in contract plants under supply agreements. Cooperative milk gets pooled. That means the cream in the plain box and the cream in the famous box are frequently drawn from overlapping supply and run through the same kind of equipment. The box is different. The cow, very often, is not, which brings us to the genuine danger in this aisle, and it is not the cheap butter. It is the 3 products standing right next to it. Go to the dairy case and find the Land O'Lakes butter. 1 pound, 4 sticks, $4.46. Now look 1 shelf over, or sometimes just 8 inches to the left. Land O'Lakes margarine. 1 pound, 4 sticks, $2.98. Hold the 2 boxes up at arm's length, the distance most of us actually read a label from in a cold store. Same red, same familiar face, same shape, same stick count. The word is different, and the word is the entire product. That margarine is cheaper than the butter, from the same trusted name, sitting on the same shelf. And it never had to clear 80% milk fat because it was never claiming to. If you have ever come home, unwrapped a stick, and thought the butter tasted off this week, that is the most likely explanation. Nothing went wrong at the plant. You bought the box next to the box. Second trap, and this one is more sympathetic because it solves a real problem. Land O'Lakes butter with canola oil. Challenge sea salted, spreadable butter with canola oil, 15-ounce tub, $4.46. These exist because cold butter tears bread, and if your hands ache in the morning, spreadable is not a luxury. It is the difference between making toast and not bothering. That is a legitimate need, and these products meet it. Read the name out loud, though. Butter with canola oil. The word butter is on the front because there is butter in there. The oil is in there because oil stays soft in the refrigerator. You are buying a blend at a price per ounce very close to what real butter costs, and the reason it spreads is not craftsmanship. It is the oil. Third trap, and this one is pure arithmetic. Great value salted whipped butter, 8-ounce tub, $2.78. Under $3, looks like the bargain of the aisle. That is 34.8 cents an ounce. The sticks from the same brand 4 feet away are 19.1 cents an ounce. You are paying about 82% more per ounce for the tub. Whipped means gas was beaten into the butter to make it soft. Air is not an ingredient anyone charges for on the label, but it takes up volume, and volume is what the tub sells. Same brand, same cooler, same company. One product costs 19 cents an ounce and the other costs almost 35. And the difference is something you cannot see, cannot taste, and cannot spread on bread because it is nitrogen. Those 3 products are the reason this video is not just a price comparison. The trap at the bottom of the dairy case is not cheap butter. It is everything shaped like butter, priced like butter, and legally not butter. Now let us climb into the part of the case where you actually start paying for a story, and be fair about which stories are true. Vital Farms grass-fed butter, 16 ounces, $5.29. Kerrygold, the Irish butter in gold foil, $4.84 for an 8-ounce block at Walmart. Do that division, and it is $9.68 a pound. Organic Valley Pasture. Butter, 8 ounces, $4.69 to $5.79 depending on the store. Plugra European style, 8 ounces, $5.39. which is $10.78 a pound. Here is where honesty matters more than outrage, because 2 of these are selling something measurable. Kerrygold comes from Irish herds that graze for most of the year on grass, and grass changes the fat. Butter made from grazing cows in spring is softer, more golden, and carries a different flavor than butter made from stored feed. That is not a marketing invention. You can see it in the color before you taste it. Organic Valley pasture butter is cultured, which means the cream sits with live bacteria before churning. The way butter was made before refrigeration made the step unnecessary. It develops a tang. When the food magazine Bon Appetit put 6 widely available cultured salted butters through a tasting, their editors picked Organic Valley pasture butter as the one they wanted. That is a taste panel, not a laboratory, and it is one panel. But it is a real result from a real test, and it points the same direction the price tag does. So yes, on a piece of good bread, eaten plain at room temperature, the difference between a $9 butter and a $3 butter is something a person with an ordinary palate can find. Now watch what happens to that premium when you move 11 miles. That same Kerrygold, identical foil, identical butter, sells at Costco in a 4-pack of 8-ounce blocks for $14.72, $7.36 a pound. At Walmart, in a single block, $9.68 a pound. About 32% more for the exact same product, and the only variable is which door you walked through. Sit with that because it undoes the assumption the whole aisle depends on. If the higher price bought you higher quality, the identical butter could not swing 32% between 2 stores in the same town. What you are paying for at the top of this ladder is partly butterfat and partly culturing and partly the size of the package and the negotiating position of the retailer. 3 of those 4 things have nothing to do with the butter. And then there is the very top of the ladder where the numbers stop behaving like groceries at all. Rodolphe Lemonnier Beurre de Barat is French butter, churned in a traditional barrel churn, sold in an 8.8-ounce block by specialty importers for about $21 to $22. Run that per pound and you are near $38 to $40. Le Bordier, the Brittany butter that shows up on restaurant tables in Paris, is sold in the United States in 4.4-ounce bars, hand-churned and hand-shaped, at $10 to $17 a bar depending on the flavor. Add the cold pack and the overnight refrigerated shipping that any importer has to charge to get butter to your door unmelted, and the working cost of that butter lands right around $47 a pound delivered. Say that number again slowly. $47 a pound delivered. You cannot buy this at a supermarket. There is no Walmart in America where this bar is sitting in the cooler. It comes from importers, cheese counters, and mail order, in quantities small enough that the shipping sometimes costs more than the butter, and it is genuinely extraordinary. The cream is cultured slowly, the churning is done in small batches at low speed, which leaves the fat structure less beaten than industrial butter. Some of it carries protected origin status in France, meaning the milk has to come from a defined region under defined rules. On a torn piece of bread with nothing else on it, this is one of the best things you can put in your mouth. And anyone who tells you the difference is imaginary has not tried it. Now the honest part. It is roughly 15 times the price of the winner of this video. A 4.4-ounce bar is gone in 4 days if 2 people eat toast. You cannot fry an egg in it without wincing. You cannot hand it to a grandchild who wants a grilled cheese. It is not a grocery decision. It is a small luxury, like a good bottle of wine, and it should be judged like one. That is the whole ladder, from $3 to $47. So how do you tell, standing in the store, which side of the 80% line of product is on? You do not need a laboratory. You need 3 tests you can run in your own kitchen tonight. Test 1. The refrigerator test. Take whatever is in your butter compartment and press it with your thumb straight out of the cold. Real butter resists. It is firm, it dents rather than gives, and it needs a warm knife or 20 minutes on the counter. A canola blend or a spread comes out of the same cold refrigerator, already soft enough to spread. That is not freshness, and it is not better churning. Vegetable oil does not harden at refrigerator temperature the way milk fat does. If it is soft when it is cold, there is oil in it. The softness is the confession. Test 2, the melt test. Put a pad in a dry pan over low heat and watch it, which takes about 90 seconds. Real butter separates as it melts. You get clear golden fat, a layer of foam on top, and fine solids that settle and eventually brown. And that browning is where the smell of a good cookie comes from. A spread or a blend behaves differently. It thins fast, it can look cloudy or watery, and it tends to spit rather than foam because there is more water and more oil and less milk solid to brown. Do both in the same pan side by side once, and you will not need to do it again. Test 3. The scale test, and this is the one that shows you exactly what you paid for. Pack a measuring cup with whipped butter from the tub and weigh it. Then pack the same cup with butter from a stick and weigh that. The stick weighs noticeably more. Same cup, same brand, more butter. The gap on that scale is the air, and the air is what made the tub look cheap. Run those 3 once this week on whatever is already in your house. After that, you are not trusting a label or a video. You are reading your own kitchen, which puts us in a position to kill 4 beliefs that cost people money in this aisle every single week. The first belief is that a higher price means a better product. In this category, that is simply not how it works, and you have already seen the proof twice over. The same imported butter swings about 32% on price with no change to the butter, and the plain box and the famous box are drawing from pooled cooperative cream. Price tells you about packaging, import distance, and who negotiated the pallet. It does not tell you about milk fat. The second belief is that spreadable means better butter. Spreadable means a softer fat was added or air was beaten in. Nothing about the added oil improves the butter, and it usually reduces how much of it you are getting per ounce. If your reason for buying spreadable is that cold butter tears the bread and your hands hurt, there is a free fix that no company can charge you for. Cut a week's worth off the pound, leave that piece in a covered dish on the counter, and keep the rest in the refrigerator. Salted butter in a covered dish holds fine for a few days at room temperature. You get spreadable butter at 19 cents an ounce. The third belief is that whipped is lighter in the way people mean when they are watching what they eat. Whipped butter is not a reduced fat product. It is the same butter with gas in it. A tablespoon scooped from a tub has less butter in it than a tablespoon cut from a stick. So the calorie count per tablespoon looks lower on the panel, and people read that as a healthier butter. What actually happened is that the serving got smaller while the price per ounce went up. The fourth belief is the most expensive one because it is the one honest shoppers fall for. It is the assumption that a claim printed on the wrapper has been verified the way an organic seal is verified. Words like grass-fed, pasture-raised, and European style are not all governed by the same kind of federally audited standard. Some are company claims supported by paperwork the company keeps. That does not make them false. Kerrygold's grazing and Organic Valley's culturing are real. It means the wrapper is a promise about a process, and the only thing on that package guaranteed by federal law is the one number we started with. One practical note that matters more at 60 than it did at 30, and it is on the panel of every package in this video. Salted butter typically carries somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 milligrams of sodium per tablespoon. Unsalted carries essentially none. If a doctor has you counting sodium, that is not a reason to give up butter. It is a reason to buy the unsalted pound for cooking, where you are already salting the food anyway, and keep the salted one for bread. Check the panel on your own package because the number varies by brand. It is printed right there and almost nobody looks at it. So here is where 13 butters and one federal standard actually leave you. The winner is the plain box. Great value. Sweet cream. Salted butter, $3.06 a pound, 2 ingredients on the label clearing the same 80% floor as everything above it. 19 cents an ounce of real butterfat is the best value in the dairy case, and it is sitting at the bottom of the ladder because low price is the only thing about it that was ever designed to stand out. If you have a Costco membership and a freezer, Kirkland's Signature at $3.12 a pound is the same answer in bulk. Butter freezes well for months in its original wrap inside a bag, and buying 4 pounds at a time takes one decision off your list until fall. And if what you want is butter on bread, taste it on purpose, buy 1 8-ounce package of Organic Valley pasture butter and keep it for that. Cook with the cheap pound. Eat the good one plain. That is how the difference actually reaches your mouth instead of disappearing into a hot pan. Now the money, because this is the part that matters on a fixed income. 1 pound a week is a normal household rate if you bake at all. At $3.06, that is about $159 a year. At $9.68, the single block imported price, it is about $503 a year. The gap is roughly $344 on 2 products standing on the identical federal milkfat floor. That is a utility bill. That is a copay. That is a plane ticket to see somebody, and you never had to give up butter to keep it. Here is the whole video shrunk down to what you can do in 5 seconds in the store. Take a screenshot of this if it helps. Read the word. Butter or margarine or spread or blend. The word is the product and the word is legally binding. Count the ingredients, cream and salt. Anything longer than that is engineering. Look for oil. Canola, palm, or soybean on the label means it did not clear the floor. Skip the tub. Whipped means you are buying air by the ounce. Price by the ounce, not by the package. The little number on the shelf tag already did the arithmetic for you, and it is the only honest sentence on the entire display. That is it. 5 steps, 1 aisle, no laboratory. None of this is a scandal. There is nothing unsafe in that dairy case, and nobody is hiding poison in your butter. What is happening is quieter and in its way more insulting. The raw material got cheaper this year and the shelf did not. The plainest box in the store meets the same legal standard as the fanciest one and is priced as though it does not. And the products most likely to disappoint you are not the cheap ones. They are the ones sitting inches away from the cheap ones with a familiar face on the front and a different word underneath it. You have been reading the front of that box for 50 years because that is where the companies put the reassurance. Turn it over. 80% cream, salt. The law is already on your side. It just never advertised. If this changed how you look at that cooler, send it to somebody who buys butter every week and has never once turned the box around.